Welcome to Top Tide Media. Today, we are exploring a significant part of Nigeria history as we visit the slave trade corridors in Badagry, Lagos. We'll be visiting 4 museums and the point of no return on the Atlantic Ocean. This is going to be a deeply educational and emotional experience, so let's dive in. The Mobee Family Slave Relics Museum. This museum is unique because it is maintained by the descendants of the Mobee family, who played a significant role in the history of Badagry.
Good morning everybody. So you're welcome to Badagry once again, the historical and ancient town in the whole Nigeria. Once again, I welcome you to Mobee Slave Relics Museum in Badagry. Badagry was founded 1425, that is when Badagry was established. And the slave trade started here in Badagry in the year 1502. Yeah. So in 15 centuries ago. So here we have the grave of the chief control Badagry during the days of slave trade. His name Chief Sumbu Mobee. He died October 16, 1893. So during his own time, slavery stopped here in Badagry 1886 after the trade lasted 400 years. But Chief Sumbu Mobee's father eventually participated during the days of slave trade. His one nickname Mobee by the white men because kola nut was called Obi in Yoruba. And majority of Badagry indigenous here, we all migrated from Dahomey, now Benin Republic. So whenever the white people came to buy slave, Chief Sumbu Mobee always offered them with our own local language, which is Ogu. That Hontonshe Yovo, Meyi Avilo, means Oremi Oyinbo, Emu Obije. My white friends pick kola nut and eat. Why his own name is very difficult for the white people to pronounce, that's why calling him, we are looking for Chief Mobee. So that's where the name Mobee derived from. At my left side here, we have the original chain used on our forefather during the days of slave trade. And this chain was brought here by the white men to here around 15 centuries ago, roughly 500 to 600 years now, this very chain that you are seeing here. And all this environment used as a slave corridor. Slave was brought from outside Badagry, from interland. What I mean by interland is Oyo, Oshogbo, Abeokuta, Ibadan, Ondo, different places like that.
You can put it on your neck.
Pull it on. And that person we have is another person. And to be on the roll, to be around the neck like that. 18 hours every day. Like,
Come out to them.
guy. Yeah.
Try walk first, shoot that horse. Don't be like slave to me. I would not be like slave.
Is it everywhere?
Yeah.
Slave children. To guide them not to disturb their parents, they have to join 2 or 3 kids hands together like this, lock down padlock while their parents busy working on the farm. This was a slave mount to guide them not to eat while working on sugarcane plantation. Maize was used for three purposes. The first purpose is to put this object into a fire when it is very red hot. There is this stuff
To penetrate
goes
through.
up and down. So now fix this. Draw the lips out very well. They have to knock it to part of like this, not like that. It will guide them not to eat while working on sugarcane plantation, or for them not to talk to the one another. The second purpose of using this object, slave has name. By those white people, they couldn't allow slave to bear their name, they bear the master's name. How did they do that? They have to put this object into a fire when it is very red hot. They use this to write the name of the masters and the master's nationality at their body. So when they go back to where they're taking them to, they can be able to
Identify them.
We nowadays guys now adopt that fashion. That is tattoo. The third purpose of using this any slave trying to run away in caption. You have to put this leg over the falling tree and then nail it down.
Hey, yeah.
If you watch a movie called The Root, that's the kid that took the movie, or 12 years in slavery, you know what I'm talking about.
Kinda
It's
Kunti.
called cannon gun. The gun stands as time, shot 3 times in a day. The first shot of this cannon hearing in the morning signified that they're taking the slave down to the farm to work. Second one in the afternoon, right from the farm. Third one in the night was the farm outside the Badagry. Anybody caught after the dawn shooting, such person have to face the consequences mainly, so out into slavery. Because during the olden days, all this environment used as a slave corridor. Slaves used to spend like 3 months within this environment before the white people shipped them away to the New World, to the places like Cuba, Jamaica, West Indies, Brazil, America, different places like that.
Should I?
This is the money spent in those days. Cowries, the way in Yoruba, cowries in English. Cowries only recognized within ourselves in Africa as money. White people, they couldn't recognize this as money. In order for them to buy slave, they practice trade by barter. They have to bring things like gold,
Umbrella,
powder, iron, cotton, mirror, umbrella, in exchange of human being.
Hey,
so
yeah.
like here, it's also a whiskey. Like this, in exchange of 10 slaves.
A bottle of whiskey.
Yes, no. That's good then. This is where the slave are drinking water, called slave drinking water bowl. When the slave arrive from the farm, they fear water, they tie their hands up, open their mouth lock, and ask them to bend down here with heavy chains around them. They drink like animals, no cup. In the process of drinking, they may push themselves, their head will hit this, blood will flow. They are still drinking.
We also are headed to the Seriki Abass Slave Museum. Seriki Abass was a slave himself who later became a prominent slave merchant.
You're welcome. So the compound here is called the Brazilian barracoon. So barracoon is a Spanish word for slave cell. The compound used to be the cell, and this is the cenotaph of the man that owned the compound. He was captured by a black man named Abbas, and slaves don't bear their own name. Slaves bear their master's name or the name the master wished to give them. So he had 2 masters. The first master was Abbas, the second master was Williams. So Abbas was a black man who captured him during the Egba and Dahomey clash. Then Abbas sold him to Williams. William took him to Brazil. He's a Brazilian. So when they got to Brazil, he made him a domestic slave. We have 2 types of slaves. We have the domestic and the field slaves. So the field slave work on the master's plantation, while domestic slave work at home for their master. So he was working as a domestic slave for the white master, Williams. So along the line, the white man sent him to school. And after he graduated, the man called him and said, we let go of him on a condition. And the condition was for him to be buying and sending the slave to his master. And because he was a slave, he had no option. He accepted, and the man built this compound for him. We have 40 rooms in this compound, and in each of the rooms, they keep 40 slaves. So a minimum of 1,600 slaves were kept in this compound for every 3 to 4 months and be led to the point of no return, which is across the island. The last name he had, Seriki, was a title given to him, and it means head of the Muslims. Until date, the family of this man still retains that title of a Seriki. So over here, we have some of the items used in exchange of slaves. Because they couldn't spend the money with you, they did trade by barter, which was to exchange people for these items. So the value of 1 umbrella then was 40 slaves. We have the surviving umbrella here that you'll be seeing later. The cannon, known as the olden days bomb, the big one for 100, while the small one for 40. A bottle of gin, alcohol, was exchanged for 10 slaves. The mirror and the bead don't have specific amount. You have to bargain and negotiate. So the highest bidder gets the mirror or the bead. Ceramic bowl, known as breakable plate that we used to do in our houses. The value of one bowl then was 10 slaves. We have 5 of such bowls in the cell that we'll be seeing later. They're gone for 40 slaves. So when it became chief,
Sorry, that means it was the chiefs here that were selling the slaves.
no, the chiefs were the Africans were the one giving out the blacks to get these items from the Europeans. The kettle and the brass dish were given to the chief as gift. We still have them in the cell. So out of the 40 rooms, 2 rooms were set apart for museums and monuments because the family of this man lives in this compound. So this is like a living museum. The family is still occupy the compound. So you'll be seeing some of them while we're going around.
And also, how
Let's go.
were those slaves captured?
Slaves were captured from the hinterland. Maybe went to town fight. When they fight or they fought a war, the one that lose will be sold off because they'll be captured. So when they capture them, they bring them down to the slave port. They use them to exchange for items like cannon and guns to have weapons to go and raid more towns, capture more people and sell. So it was more of we fighting and capturing ourselves to sell to the Europeans. Yeah. This is one of the rooms where slaves were kept, and this is the picture of the man called Seriki Abass. And here is a photocopy of his handwriting. He could speak in 5 languages. He could speak he could speak in Portuguese, English, Dutch, Spanish, and his own native language, Yoruba. So he was like a middleman, and he ruled for 24 years before he died. So this is the umbrella he owned that was exchanged for 40 slaves. This is a picture of the chief, a slave carrying the same umbrella at the top. You can feel the weight.
So this is more than umbrella.
This one will be regular umbrella.
No, I swear. Let's check.
And as heavy as this umbrella is, one slave carries it just like that. So depending how long you are outside or what you're doing, one slave carries it at the top of the chief just like that. And if that umbrella should drop and touch the head of the chief's then the slave is going to be beheaded. And there was no case for that because slaves were regarded as property. So you can do anything with your slave. If you kill your slave, nobody will argue or drag you. It's your property. And the bigger ones here were used on adults, while the smaller ones for children. Children are not allowed to go close to their parents while they are working on the plantation. So they will use the little children to lock them together under a tree. And here we have item 7 known as iron drilling bit. This is to brand the master's name, to write the name of the masters on the body of the slaves. So they put it in a very hot fire. When it's red and hot, that sharp mouth, they use it to write the master's name. So they'll be able to identify. Yeah, they use it to identify their slaves when they get there. And here's the inner room for 40 people.
40 people live there?
Yeah, 40 slaves will be here for 3 to 4 months. They'll be here for months. That's the ventilation for 40 slaves. So when the cargo ship is around, that's when they lead them out from the cell to the point of no return. And there was a door right here that's going to be shut.
So every room is 40 slaves?
Yes, 40 slaves in each of the room. If you do the math, yeah, that is 1,600 slaves. 40 times 40. Those are African pots the chiefs used. These were no exchange for slaves. They were the local pots we used. This was the water pot, soup pot, another water pot. But because the Africans, we did not value this, when we saw these items, we decided to start exchanging our people. So these are the ceramic bowls. The value of each is 10 slaves. So the 5 bowls here were exchanged for 50 slaves. And over here, this is the bottle of gin from 1873 from Austria, Vienna. It was exchanged for 10 slaves. And those are gramophones that Seriki played while he was alive.
I like the ear music.
Yeah. And here we have the...
Are those gramophones? Are they still for what?
Yeah, they're good.
So you can play that.
If you have the engine. Yeah. So this is the brass dish, the mug, and the kettle given to the chief as gift when he became the Seriki of Badagry, the 3 items. And here is cowries, the money we spend there. Let's see the circle room.
So the connect mic, more camera and see.
That's the function. We'll finish.
So these are the pictures and pictures taken then of slaves being hanged, punished. You can see they're not allowed to talk or eat while working on the plantation. And here we have two men that were slaves that returned. This is Santos Silva and this is Candido da Rocha. Both were slaves that returned. Here we have the clothes of the chief. Yeah, it was given to him by the Brazilians. It's called regalia. The cloth is over 200 years, and that's the stuff he used while he was alive. Over there were two slaves, a male and a female, being hung on punishment till death. And they'll be like that till they die. And over here, we have some pictures of the chief's children. This is the first son over there, putting on the same regalia. This one.
That's the wife?
No, they are the daughters. The two are his daughters. The others are his sons. But this is the first son, and this is the last child. And some notes he wrote also there. So over here, that's the court where he passed judgment to people and towns he dominated on. And this is where he was buried when he died. Yeah. He was buried here by the family, the Islamic community, and the Brazilians. They built. No, we can't. That's just where he is. And those died 1919, June 11th. That is 105 years ago. And the last one was buried there. Chief Saka Ajao Seriki Abass. He was born 1913 and he died 1987. He was 6 when his own father died. He grew up and he became the chief, so he was buried beside his father. Yeah.
Now we'll make our way to the point of no return. This is where captured slaves took their last step on African soil before being shipped across the Atlantic Ocean.
So guys, we're about to head to the point of no return. Can you see? The mic is going to be clear. We're about to head to the point of no return. Yeah. Point of no return. That's like this. You don't stabilize.
The walk to the point of no return is a long and reflective one. As we approach the beach, it is easy to imagine the despair and the uncertainty the slaves must have felt.
Alright, so this is the starting point to the journey. We're going to walk down for like 10 to 15 minutes to the beach where the ship would be waiting. So that's the slave route. This is where they start before they move the slaves to the point of no return. This island is called Berefu. Berefu means dry or isolated. Yeah. So this is where they bring the slaves. They bring them from there and cross them just like we did. But then it was the paddle boats. So they paddle them here and the chains will already be here. So there'll be chains on their necks, their hands and their legs. They'll trek down till they get to the beach. The only stopover they have is the spirit attenuation well, where they drink water and lose their memory temporarily. So we'll also be working for like 10, 15 to 20 minutes. But then it took them hours because they are in chains and the sun will be eating their body. So let's move. So we are the spirit attenuation well, also known as memory loss well. So whenever the slaves get here and they drink from this well, they lose their memory temporarily for like 3 to 4 months. So you can imagine walking down from that place down here on a single file with chain on the necks, the hands and the legs. Yeah. So, but instead of giving them cold water, they give them water from this well.
The Europeans believe in all this.
Yeah, because the Europeans met with the African chief and they complained that the number of the slave is too much. Like the number of the slave on the ship is, the minimum is 1,600, while the maximum could be 5,000. And the maximum of the masters taking them away is just like 100. So imagine 5,000 slaves with just 100 masters to protect them or to guide them to the place. Obviously, the slave could get aggressive, capture the boat, kill the masters, and escape. It happened, yeah. So for the masters know that if they keep going like that, there'll be a lot of crisis, and that will be a shortage on their business. So for that not to happen, they met with the African chief and asked that what can they do. So the well here was dug by the African chiefs, and according to stories, African concoctions, voodoo, were added to the well. So once they drink from the well, they'll be less aggressive and they lose their memory temporarily for like 3 to 4 months. So once they drink it, they won't be able to fight against their masters, and they will fight against their masters. No, I mean, they won't fight against their masters. They will be calm. They'll be obedient. So once they drink from the well, they'll be like dummies, and they'll be walking down to the beach where the ship will be waiting for them. And according to stories and also known facts, nobody has tested the well since the trade was abolished because the people believe it might still be effective. So you can see the state of the well. The well is dirty and unkept because people don't use torch or clean the well at all. They believe it might still be effective. We have a lot of well on this island, but this one was rejected. Even the people that farm, they don't use the water.
They don't use the well.
Because they believe it's still effective, it might affect them. So that's why the water is dirty, and it's called the spirit attenuation well or memory loss well, because once they drink it, they lose their memory temporarily till they get to their destination. So when they get to their destination, that's when they start regaining their memory. But it's already late because they're already there. There's no way for them to come back. That's why it's called journey to unknown destination. The slaves don't know where they are going. So from here, they're going to walk down to the beach over there where the ship will be waiting for them. Also in a single file, they will be there, continue, and that's where they will remove the chain. While they're here, they will not remove the chain. They'll just fetch the water for them to drink. So when they get there, before they board them on the boat, that's when they will pull or drop the chains.
Waiting for us like this.
No, it's not waiting for us. It's waiting for them.
Right at the Atlantic Ocean bank, a museum was built by the then Lagos State governor, but has not been completed up to date.
Point of no return. This is where they bring the slaves to. So from there, they walk down to this place. So after drinking from the well, they'll be less aggressive. The master will bring them here. This building was never here. The structure that was here was just these 2 pillars, these big pillars. So the 2 pillars were called the Ark of Departure. Once the slave comes here, they go through the ark, they release the chains from their body, and then the ship will be ready to take them there. So whenever they cross through the ark, they release the chains, and because they spend months in the cell, they will be smelling. So they have to splash water on them before they load them on the ship. And the ship can't come too close, it has to be deep inside. So they use paddle boats from the edge here to take them to the main ship. So in the process, some of the ship could capsize because you can see how wavy that is. So if they
capsize,
that's it for the slaves. They don't. There's no special treatment. They will die because most of the slaves were brought down from the hinterlands. They have not seen water before. They have not swum before. So there's no way for them to swim out of the water.
Is in that place.
Yes, when they are crossing here down to the point of no return. And it's not all the slaves that left Africa that will get to Europe because some of them dies. Most of them dies on the road.
Some will fight.
Some will get seasick. And a slave that is sick automatically will be thrown off board. So the sickness won't affect the others. And there are times that they need to lighten the weight of the ship. So and they have their heavy cannons to throw off board, but they will throw slaves because they believe with those cannons they will get more slaves. The cannon is for 100 slaves. So imagine if you throw one, that is 100 slaves. If they throw 1,000 slaves and they have like 40 cannons on board, those cannons are worth more than those humans. So they'll throw them off board to lighten the weight. And when they need to distract their attention, the ship, it takes them 3 to 4 months because it's not an engine ship, it's a flag sails. It's controlled by the wind. So in the process of its slowness, the ship might be attacked by fishes, like sharks. Yeah. So for them to distract their attention, not to break it, because it's a wooden boat, they throw slaves as sacrifice. So while the fish are attacking the slaves, the ship will be able to escape. So for the slaves, when they get here, it's not all of them that will get to Europe. And for those that get there, the master will just come look for their names. Since they have branded them, just pick each one who slave, take them to the house, and 90% of them ended up as domestic slaves because what they really wanted them to do was to go and work. So the reason it's called the point of no return is because once a slave gets here, they cannot return. So this is a structure that was built by the former Governor Ambode. He was trying to build a museum here. We talk about the point of return because then slave will be able to go in from here, and straight down to the ship. They're not coming back. But today, people will be able to go through the same arc, tour each round, and come back from the stairs. That's to tell you that we are no longer slaves. So you can see the state of the museum. They stopped working for a while, and the Lagos State Governor, the current one, was here last month to check the museum. So probably are going to continue or starting the project again. Yeah, we can check it out.
Yeah, I can't go. That's a matter of you.
We tried visiting the first story building in Nigeria, but we were not able to as it was managed by the Anglicans and they were in church sessions. We also had a stop at the Badagry Heritage Museum. This museum holds a vast collection of artifacts and documents that tells the story of the transatlantic slave trade.
So, you're welcome. We are the Heritage Museum. This is a museum under the Lagos State. So this is a campaign against slave trade used then. And they unveiled it then in August of a slave named begging the master saying, "Am I not a man and a brother?" So it was begging that why was he in chain? This was used in 1963, in August 1963, to campaign against trade. And that is why every August there is always the Black Heritage Museum that is to talk about the slave trade. And here we have some of the civilization in Africa before the European arrived. This is the Giza, Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. And this is the first university then in Mali, called in Timbuktu, Mali. Timbuktu. Yes. And this is how they named Africa according to what they got. They named, we had Grain Coast, that is Sierra Leone and Senegal, because they got grain. Then we have Ivory Coast, which is Cote d'Ivoire. We have Gold Coast, Ghana, and the last one is Slave Coast, Nigeria.
Slave Coast.
So, a chief exchanged people for 40 slaves. That is Dahomey Empire, and this is Oyo Empire.
Dahomey Empire.
Oyo, you can see Oyo, 3 umbrellas, that is 120 slaves.
No, this all this temple people.
Yeah. That is Benin, yeah. Dahomey. So we have the white slaves and we have the black slaves. For the white slaves, they did trans-Sahara slave trade, and for the black, they did transatlantic slave trade. So next, we are going to capture. You see how they capture and the things they use on the slaves. So as they carry on that slave,
This was once a bustling market where slaves were sold and bought. This Vlekete market has a dark history when we see the auction blocks where slaves were traded and the relics that tells the story of their plight. The museum serves as a powerful reminder of the atrocity of the past. Thanks for joining us on this journey through Badagry history. It's important to remember and honor the past to ensure that such atrocity never happens again. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comment section. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.